Hey folks, it's Tommy Frugal Prepper. I'm on my way to Lima. I'm just going to do like a little talking video while I'm driving, just about things. We've had some bad weather here lately. It's just kind of crazy. It just kind of snows every couple of days and there's more shoveling out the driveway. I really wish I would have got my snowblower fixed back in November now. But I had to get a gasket for the carburetor, and then I got the gasket, then I lost a couple of the parts to the carburetor, and I just got to get out there and put it back together. And I keep thinking, like, this will probably be the last time it's going to snow, and it just keeps snowing. It's kind of looking like it could snow again from the clouds. It's just crazy. I don't know. I don't even look at the weather anymore to see if it's going to snow. I just deal with it as it comes, you know. I wake up early, I look outside. If there's a bunch of snow on the driveway, I got to go shovel it before I can get to work. And I'm tired of the snow. I need to go back to Florida. I'm telling you. But spring will come eventually. Kings Island is opening late this year. They usually open right around Tax Day, right around April the 15th. This year they're not opening until May the 8th. They're having a May the 8th and 9th, I think they're having a season pass preview night, and then the following weekend they open for everybody else. I'll be there riding some coasters. Hopefully the weather will be nice. It should be by May. But yeah, it's been cold, so you know, I've done some things like throw an extra blanket in the back of the car, and the old Buick's leaking the transmission fluid pretty good. I'm having to put about 1.5 quarts in it every time I get gas. I'm noticing nice little red streaks in the snow when I drive around. I think it's that transmission line up front, but it might be the pan. I don't know. I just keep topping her off for right now and keep driving it. But I need to put some new headlight bulbs in this guy too, because the ones that are in here are really dim. And I just haven't felt like tearing the whole front clip off of this thing in this weather. So that'll be coming too. But other than that, she's running okay. She's doing all right. Not bad for a $400 car. Of course, I've done a lot of work to it. You know, I replaced all the suspension all the way around it. New brakes, rotors, pads, all the way around it. New brake lines. You know, just, you know, all the stuff that it needed. But it's been a pretty good car. It's pretty comfortable. It's kind of like sitting on a couch and driving. It's great for these long trips. You know, it was great on the way down to Florida and back. You know, Florida was great. It was really busy at Busch Gardens. We went the one day, and we're just like, it's just so busy, you can't ride anything. We rode one roller coaster. That was it. All the other coasters that I could fit on were closed, and then everything had a line that was too long anyway. We were looking at 2.5 hours to get on a coaster. It was just crazy. But we had fun. We walked around, we looked at the animals, and just took in the place, you know, and had some fun. And then we went to the Marine Museum the next day, and we went to Clearwater Beach, and we just hung out in the hotel a little bit, and went out to eat one night at Carrabba's. And we stayed at the hotel and swam a lot in the heated pool underneath the palm tree. That sounds really good right now, I'll tell you. Oh, there's just something about when you're driving into Florida and you're coming from the cold and the snow, and you get across that Florida state line and things just start warming up and getting greener and greener, and you're just rolling down the window and smelling that sunny air. It's awesome. It's awesome. I wouldn't want to necessarily live in Florida during the summer. It'd be too hot, but during the winter, yeah, I'd like to maybe get a work from home job where I could live part-time in Florida during the winter and work the rest of the time up in Ohio where I'm near my family and stuff. But I don't know, we'll see what happens. The whole gun thing. So a lot of people, I think if you've seen my recent videos, you know that I do carry a gun, and I do have guns. I think I have like 35 or so guns right now. a lot of those are old military rifles that I collect. I like the old Mosin Nagants and the Mausers, and I have a Finnish Mosin. I have a Swedish Mauser that I like really well. But I also carry a gun just about everywhere I legally can. And I've carried a gun since 2010. I've had my CHL since 2010. I just got it renewed for the third time. And I've only had to use my gun one time, and that was against a dog. It wasn't a human, thank goodness. But the whole gun community is going crazy right now. Look, I have 2 weapons, or maybe 3, that would be considered assault rifles. I have an AR-15. I have a Polytech Spiker AK-47, which is a really nice gun. I really like that. I inherited that. And I have a Chinese SKS that has no import mark. It's not an Orinco or whatever. It's got no marking. So I think it's a Vietnam bringback or something. But it's a really nice shape too. And so those could be considered assault rifles, right? You know, even though assault's an action, not an object. But, you know, first of all, I don't think that they're going to be able to pass an assault weapons ban or a magazine capacity ban. And Biden can't do that by executive order. I just think that there's way too many pro-gun Democrats, right? There's way too many Democrats that have voted for those Democratic representatives for their state, but they like their guns down in the South, right? And I don't think that they're going to support a bill like that, because it's going to be really hard to sell that to their pro-gun constituents, right? And it's going to be committing political suicide. You know, and I just don't see that happening. But you know, if it does, you know, I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Well, what if they make your AK-47 and AR-15 illegal? Well, I'm going to turn them in. I mean, what good is a gun that owning it or possessing it would cause you to be a felon? That gun's no good to me now, right? My guns, my assault rifles especially, have purpose, right? And if I can't use them for that purpose, then I need to find another gun that I can use in the best way possible for that purpose, right? And it'll suck because I really love those guns, but I will give them up. I'm not going to dig a hole and bury them in the ground, because a gun that you can't shoot, that you can't ever use if someone breaks in your house, right? Because if they know you have it, you become a felon. So you can't use it to defend yourself. You can't go to the range with it and shoot it and practice with it and become proficient with it. And just, you can't ever take it out, because if anybody knows you have it, you'd be a felon. And if you get your house searched, then you're going to be an instant felon. It's simply not worth that to me in the end, right? And I know that everybody says, well, if it's time to bury him, it's time to dig him up. Well, that only works if everybody does it. And most people are going to be like me. They're going to be like, you know what? I got a family to support. I got children to raise. I've got work to do. And I've got roller coasters to ride. So I'm not getting my gun out and going, you know, to the government with it. There's no way. And I wouldn't do that anyway, because, you know, for me, my guns are a way to protect my life as a means of self-defense. They're not an offensive weapon. The only way they would become an offensive weapon to me is if we had foreign troops on our soil and we had to fight back. We were at war, right? Then they would become an offensive weapon. But I'm no soldier, right? I can lay in the bushes and shoot at somebody, but honestly, I've never been shot back at before, you know? So I'm not sure how I would react to that. I imagine that, you know, I imagine I would run the other direction screaming like a girl, right? Well, that would be my instinct anyway, right? But, so I don't think that, I think you have to be realistic about things, and you'll have to look like, okay, is a pump action shotgun still legal? What can I do with this pump action shotgun to defend myself like I used to be able to defend myself with my AR-15? How close can I get with that? But I don't think it's going to happen. And I think that, any sane legislation that goes through is going to have to grandfather in the existing weapons. They might, not have any new ones, but they'll grandfather in the existing ones. So that's why I have 4 or 5 strip lower receivers. The two things that I'm worried that they will get through Congress is, one, universal background checks. They'll be able to sell that to their constituents. Like, look, we don't want to take away your guns. We got to make sure that felons don't get these guns, which, I agree that there are certain violent felons that we don't want to have guns. There are certain really crazy people that we don't want to have guns. But I think having committed any felony, even a non-violent one, like you wrote some bad checks and they were for a felonious amount, that shouldn't necessarily preclude you from owning firearms for the rest of your life. That's why the Constitution doesn't say the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed unless you're mental or unless you've committed a felony, right? It doesn't say that. And for a very good reason, and that's because England was trying to make everybody into criminals to take their guns away before the revolution happened. So, the important thing to realize is that gun control is never about the guns. It's about the control. And, Orble's on a lot. He is a subscriber to my channel, and he lives in Australia, and they lost their gun rights a long time ago. It's very hard to get a gun there. It's really hard to get a firearms license, and there's only very certain guns you can have. Nothing semi-auto. It's really kind of bad there. And I don't know if he's pro-gun or anti-gun. I think he's kind of anti-gun. But, one of the things I've noticed is he used to shoot a lot of guns and had a lot of guns, and he took all his guns away. And I think he kind of feels it's probably for the best now. But then, I was doing a video the other day where I was like, why are all these road pirates out here on the highway? And there's a bunch out here today, too. Drove by like 5 of them so far. And, he talks about how, I don't have my seatbelt on right now. I should have my seatbelt on, but I don't. But that's a secondary violation here. They can't just pull you over for not having your seatbelt on. You have to be doing something else, and then they'll give you that ticket in addition. And so, he's talking about how, they just pull people over and give them tickets for everything. And that's what happens. That's what happens. That is what we call tyranny. And when people give up their power, the government automatically has more control over them. And then the next thing you know, they're writing more tickets so that they can hire more people to write more tickets. And it just starts to snowball out of control. And then you also run into you can't say that. Can't say that. That's a crime, And so, your freedom of speech really starts to become infringed when you don't have the control, right? And so gun control isn't about the guns. I don't think there's really any politicians. I won't say that they don't care if people get shot in a mass shooting or whatever, but they don't really care. They're using that as an excuse to pull on the emotional strings to get people to pass gun legislation. I was watching a video with Bloomberg where he was doing an interview with the press, and he actually, said assault weapons, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what is an assault weapon? He's like, well, a regular gun, it goes off once every time you pull the trigger. But when you pull the trigger on an assault weapon, it goes boom, 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 boom. You just hold the trigger down. Now, that's actually a true statement, right? So a machine gun would be considered an assault weapon, except that they're not trying to ban machine guns because they're already banned, right? If you want, I've been looking at getting a machine gun. I've been looking at getting a Thompson fully automatic submachine gun, and I found one that was really nice shape, and it was an older one, and they wanted $45,000 for it. I found one that was kind of beat up and junky, but functional, and I got them down to $27,000 on it, and I've just not spent the money yet. But then you got to buy a tax stamp, you've got to register it, you can't take it out of the state, you've got to set up a gun trust. There's another road pirate, and there's already a road pirate driving up in front of me, man. But so machine guns have been like nearly impossible for the average person to get since the 1980s, right? And I'm thinking, like, why don't politicians at least know their enemy, right? If they want to know about banning guns or creating gun laws, why don't they at least learn a little bit about guns? The difference between full automatic, semi-automatic, Why? Because they don't care about that. They just want to take all guns away so that they can control you, because it's about control. Then once they have you under more control, they can funnel more of that money into Washington and decide how it gets doled out. You become a better cog in the system, and they can take a little more of your freedom away, and they can make it so that they have to stay in power for longer, right? And people will vote for them just because they want a few more food credits or whatever, right? That's what it's ultimately about to me. It's about the control. It's not about the guns. It's not about the people that get killed with guns. Because if you really look at violent crime has been going down. I was reading an article by an anti-gun person who was saying, like, Americans have been arming themselves, and they were talking about Texas, and I think concealed carry's been available in Texas since 1996, and they were like, and hundreds of thousands of people have armed themselves since then with their CHL licenses, even though crime seems to be going down. It's like, why do you think crime's been going down, right? Because now that guy that wants to rob you has to think, I wonder if that guy has a gun. Maybe I better not rob him, right? Because you're not as easy of a target. So, I think that a lot of the states are starting to realize this. We had concealed carry passed sometime in the early 2000s, I think, or late 2000s. And then, at first we had to wear some goofy thing that clipped onto like our seatbelt that we kept our gun in plain view while we were driving or something. Now they're just like, yeah, just leave it in your holster. Now you can carry it any way you want to in your car. So the only thing that we still have is we have the need to notify if we're carrying. And the other thing that we have is that no gun signs carry force of law. So if you carry into a place that has a no gun sign posted and you knowingly do it, then it's a felony. Well, no, I don't know if it's criminal trespass, and it may or may not. I think it is a felony because it's criminal trespass with a firearm. And so you could run into a situation where you didn't see the no gun sign. Sometimes there are little tiny things stuck on the edge of the door. You really have to look. And now, so you didn't knowingly do it, but they could say that you knowingly did it, right? And now you'll run into a situation where you have an encounter with a police officer inside the store for some reason. It's an official encounter. They're not just saying like, hi, how's the weather out there? They're actually asking you, like, did you see a person, like, looks like this, that did something, right? Then you have to identify, and then they're going to be like, oh, there's a no gun sign, or you're going to charge you with felony criminal trespass, right? So, we need to change those two things. I'd like to see no gun signs not carry criminal trespass charge. Like, they have to know that you were armed and ask you to leave in order to be charged with criminal trespass. And I would like to see them remove the need to notify. You don't have to identify that you're carrying unless they ask you if you are. And there is a law for to eliminate the need to notify, which is how it is in most states. But it is what it is. But the concealed carry laws have just gotten better and better here, as they realize that most people who carry are responsible. They carry a gun, they carry it in a good holster, and they're not pulling it out and using it all the time. My gun typically doesn't come out of the holster unless there's a reason for it to, right? But it is what it is. I think that even if they do ban some assault weapons and stuff like that, they're not going to be able to ban my little Taurus Pocket 380 or my little 5-shot revolver. And those are the most important guns to me, because they're the ones that I have on me that I'm most likely to have to use from day to day. And as much as I like to be prepared for the unexpected, the most likely thing that's going to happen tomorrow is the same thing that happened today, right? So it is what it is. But as far as the ammo situation, I'm pretty well stocked up. I have a funny story. I had a guy in a gun store tell me that I was like, how much are you guys wanting for that 5.56? And he's like, oh, it's $30 a box. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to pay that for it. Well, we have to pay a higher price for it, and, we're not making that much. I understand. I completely get that. And I know that you're not trying to rip anybody off. It's just that I don't need it that much. I have like 10,000 rounds, which is enough to get me by for quite a while, I was just asking because I was curious. He's like, oh, well, make sure you don't get more than 15,000. I'm like, why? Oh, because, he says this, because if you have more than 15,000 rounds of any one caliber, you have to have an FFL. And I'm like, but you can't get an FFL unless you actually have a place that you're going to conduct the business of buying and selling ammunition and firearms, like an actual business. Oh no, an individual can get an FFL. Okay. And so then he says, and you can't have more than 25,000 rounds for all calibers combined. And I'm like, that makes half the people I know on YouTube felons. Like, what? I'm like, no, there's no law that says that. And he's like, oh yeah, there is, blah, 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 blah. No, there's no law that says that. Because I've been considering getting an FFL based on internet sales and going into the business of selling some firearms. And I've read through everything on it, and there's nothing that says that. So if I buy a bunch of ammunition and I intend to resell it to make a profit, then that would be in the business of buying and selling ammunition. But if let's say I have 10,000 rounds right now, and I'm like, man, 223 is going for a lot of money. I think I'm going to sell some of that and make a good profit on it. I'm going to sell 5,000 rounds. Well, that's not in the business of buying and selling. I bought it with the intention of keeping it and using it to shoot and train with. But right now, it's worth a lot of money to me, so I might sell it and then keep the money and buy it when it gets cheap again. But if you take all my 22 into account, I have well over that amount of ammunition. I won't say how much, but well over. It's crazy the stuff that people will make up. I don't know. I don't know if he really thought that, if someone had told him that and he believed it, or if he was trying to get me to come off with some of my ammunition and sell it to him. I don't know. But it is what it is. Like, there's a lot of myths out there. But so the other thing I think they might ban, or they might be able to do, and maybe through executive order even, but definitely could get it through Congress, is a ban on internet gun sales. They could basically ban the selling of a firearm on the internet, and I hope that that's where they leave it, so that I could still buy the lower receiver locally and buy all the parts on the internet. But they might just ban all gun-related stuff being sold across state lines, and that would shut a lot of businesses down, like Bud's Gun Shop. That would shut them down, right? Because a lot of these places do the majority of their business sending it, and they'll be able to sell that to their constituents. We can't just have people like going online, ordering up a fully automatic machine gun and having it delivered to their front porch, because there's a lot of people that think that that's what happens, right? And they don't realize that it has to go to an FFL, and you have to go fill out all the paperwork and get all the background check done. It's just the same as if your FFL ordered that gun, right? And so that's really how that would happen. If they said internet gun sales are now going to be banned, it means I wouldn't be able to go on to budsgunshop.com and physically place the order and send them a copy of the FFL that I want it sent to and have it shipped there. I'd have to go to my gun store and say, hey, I want to buy this gun from Bud's Gun Shop. Then I would pay them, and they would order it. It would be an FFL to FFL transfer, and then I would get the gun. So still not the end of the world, but it's going to make things even more complicated. There's going to be a little markup process in there. So yeah, but ammunition though, that could suck, because you can buy large amounts of ammunition online a lot cheaper than you can buy a box or two at a time from your local place. But really, with the way ammunition is right now, I would take buying it from my local gun shop at a box or two at a time at pre-corona prices right now. So yeah, I've been finding some ammunition here and there at local gun range here, Vandalia Range and Armory. They've had some 32 H&R Magnum in 50 round boxes for $22, which is a great price. That's a great price even pre-corona. They got plenty of it left because nobody has that caliber. They've always had some kind of 22 on sale, usually in the 50 round boxes, but a limit of 1 or 2 boxes. But yeah, that's each brand, so you can buy different brands. They've had 22 Magnum in stock. They've had plenty of 25 and 32 in stock, but I don't have those calibers, so I don't buy it. So there is still some ammo out there to be had. I found double-aught buckshot at Rural King. At a different Rural King, I found some 7.62 by 39. So, and they're pretty much at normal prices. So I don't buy it if it's marked up real high. I'll buy it if it's close to a normal price. I'll buy a box or two and just stick it back. I don't go in and clear the shelf because I want to leave it there for other people, and I actually have plenty. So it is what it is. We'll just have to see what happens. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to keep the guns that I can keep and learn how to use them as effectively as I can. So I might be taking a shotgun fighting class if I can't have my rifle anymore, and just do what you can with what you have. I mean, I don't think I think a lot of these channels are kind of fear-mongering, right? They're like, oh, Biden's taking the guns. He posted a letter on the WhiteHouse.gov website that said he wants the Congress to take the guns. Well, of course he did. He's got to offer lip service to all those anti-gun groups that gave him so much money to get elected. He doesn't care whether we take the guns or not. He just wants to be president. It's his turn to be president, and he wants to enjoy it, So, but anyway, I'm getting kind of close to my destination here, so I'm going to go ahead and hop off. I've been jabbering on for a half an hour. just about stuff that's going on in my life. I am still working on cars like crazy. I really am. I need to do some videos, but when it gets really cold like this, I'm doing good just to get outside in the cold and lay on the freezing ground and fix the car. And I'm not feeling like setting up a bunch of cameras and doing a bunch of videoing. So I'll try to get one or two here soon. You know, if we just get a little bit of a break in the weather and it get in the 50s or the 40s, I'd probably do it. But when it's like 2 degrees outside, it's really hard to film because the lens keeps fogging up, and you know, it just makes it hard. So better weather will be coming, and I'll get back to more car repair videos. I've had some really good ones here lately that I've diagnosed for different places and stuff, and I've been having lots of fun doing that. It's cold this time of year to go diagnose a car in a used car dealer's parking lot, but you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Do what you gotta do to make the money. Which that reminds me, one of them owed me $75. I need to get them a bill. That's the other part of doing a side business, is just the amount of billing. And then tax time comes and you have to report that all as income, and it just makes things funner, you know. But there's a whole administrative part to running a business and keeping the books straight and getting all that stuff straightened out. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of late nights, because I also do side work for computers. I do side work for cars. I do my main job fixing computers, and I'm my family's appliance repair people. And you know, I just fix everything. Sometimes I'm out all the time fixing stuff. But whatever it takes to make the money to buy that box of 9mm for $100, right? All right, folks, I'll talk to y'all later. This is Tom at Frugal Prepper.